So we've got that sign in the locker room about making history, and you guys have seen that. If you haven't, you should go down there and look at it. But it's got an AU, and it just says "Make History" right in the middle of it. Not AU, not Auburn basketball, not Auburn anything, not Auburn Tigers. It's AU Make History. So I'd like to give some credit to Joel Eves' teams between 57 and 63, because that was the last time that Auburn had a run of 5 20-win seasons in 6 years, roughly speaking, if I'm getting that right, Marlene. So for us, it's guys like Alan Flanagan or Jalen Williams or, Leor Berman, Babatunde, Chandler, that would have been part of that. It's only happened one other time in Auburn basketball history. So these names, that some of them are very familiar to you, but Captain Rex Frederick, right? Jimmy Lee, Henry Hart, Bill McGriff, Bobby Tucker, the great Jimmy Fibby, Porter Gilbert, Ray Groover, Leighton Johns, who is also from Nahunta, Georgia, who has passed, but is going to be our legend this weekend in Nashville for Auburn basketball. John Blackwell, just to name a few names, because those guys, along with Coach Eves, are part of a very, very special period of when Auburn basketball had a great run. So just really proud of those guys for being able to do that. And all it took was beating the number 13 team in the country, the best defensive team analytically in the country, and putting 79 on them. That takes some doing. I thought our crowd on Saturday was incredible. It doesn't happen. You guys, I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am and thankful I am to be able to coach at Auburn professionally, giving me a chance to be able to be in that situation. Without Neville Arena, without the support, without these guys and these coaches, you had no chance to do all that, make that kind of history. So everybody's a part of it. Our students stuck around before spring break. I mean, to me, it was as loud as I can remember it all year, especially when moments we really needed it. So, great way to close out the regular season. And now the reward for such a job well done is we get to play the 18th best team in the country according to net. So you guys have seen the numbers, and you guys are really good at this stuff too. But, so Arkansas is seeded 10th in the SEC tournament, but based on the net, they're the 18th seed in the NCAA tournament. Now you go figure that one. So, what a great reward. Arkansas is really talented, really deep, really athletic. We played great here at home. They weren't at full strength because they didn't have Nick Smith. They were at a time of their season when they weren't shooting the ball well at all. And we took full advantage of it by playing 40 possessions of zone. We probably have played 80 possessions of zone on the season, 40 of them in that game. But that was just because Arkansas was struggling so much from the three. You look at their last 5 games, they're shooting 38% from three. Devo Davis is making 2 a game. Nick's making 2 a game. Council, they're shooting it. So zone is not going to be the answer this time around. So I'd say it'll be a tough matchup and all we want.
The question, raise your hands right here, Kurt. You mentioned it at the beginning. They didn't have Nick Smith. How much does Arkansas have in Nick Smith kind of change what they do and how you guys are going to have to defend him?
Well, it doesn't make zone an option like a no-brainer because he can really shoot it. And they'll be lined up, and I think the other thing is it gives them another big guard. So it's like, Devo Davis is their smallest guard at 6'4", plays 6'8". I mean, it's just they're just huge. They're the 13th longest team in the country by length, and so again, hard matchup. If you could, if you're built like Kentucky, who beat them the last time around, Kentucky without Case and Wallace, who is 6'5", anyways, they just kind of built a wall. And the last 3 teams Arkansas has played, at Alabama, at Tennessee, and then Kentucky at home, most of those teams are pretty big, pretty long, and that's not how we're built. Still better from 2 than 3. Still great getting downhill. We sent them to the foul line 32 times in Auburn, in Neville. So we got to guard them without fouling them.
Coach, I was talking to your players about trying not to look ahead, and they said maybe last year, going into the SEC tournament, that's maybe what happened. Is that a message? Kind of, I know it's a different scenario this time, to not look past and look ahead, or no, it's different this time?
Well, I mean, I think last year we were one of the best teams in the country. So, I think maybe that could have been an option, but we're not. It's not the same. It's not the same circumstance. And I honestly don't think that we look past Texas A&M. They had come in playing really well. And the thing about Texas A&M, not only had they come in playing well, they got all the way to the finals and should have beaten Tennessee, and then they got to the finals of the NIT. Didn't they get to the finals or close to it? So I mean, they were really hot. So, I think they were good. I don't think. Statistically, like we had 22 games this year where the net said we were supposed to win. We won 19 of those games. The 3 games we lost were at Georgia, at Vanderbilt, and Memphis. You look at Vanderbilt and Georgia's record at home, Memphis is a pretty good team, and those are the only 3 times where we didn't do what the net said we were supposed to do. It's pretty remarkable. So I don't think this team, we've lost plenty of games, and we've not guarded, and we've not rebounded, and we've not gotten a good look at the end, but we've really not looked past anybody. So why would we start now?
Speaking of games where you guys didn't do it in that, the guys are mentioning the Georgia game is one that kind of stuck out that they felt they probably should have gotten. They mentioned both the Alabama games leading by so much. What kind of games that you didn't win that really stick out when you go back and look? You're like, man, we really probably.
Oh, I mean, certainly the Alabama games, the game at Tennessee, the game at Vandy. Georgia outplayed us, and they were really good at home this year. So, but I just think, look, I think the one we had to get was Tennessee. You get to a situation where you're at the end of your year. Let's just say we don't get the Tennessee game. We're in the bubble. We could be on the outside looking in. We don't have 20. There are a lot of boxes we don't get to check. And Tennessee had just come in and they had just beaten Arkansas pretty good. So it was a great win, and that's just a win that a lot of programs wouldn't have gotten. I guarantee I won't take that win for granted. It has nothing to do with me used to being in Tennessee. It was a back against the wall, everything on the line. And then with 3 or 4 minutes left to go in the game, weren't we down with about 4 or 5 minutes left to go? But the key to that one was 6 minutes without a field goal for Tennessee. And again, we've talked about that before. How do you, giving you the formula, how do you win? You get stops, and you get to the foul line of the offensive end.
Hey,
offense, and then I guess just how have you how have you kind of seen his shot come along around the court?
The reason why I'm laughing is because he walked out as I was walking in. He reminded me that he was 40% from three. So, well, listen, I think it's a great example of allowing players to evolve and not pigeonholing them. I thought Janai could come in here, and because he was such a good 15-foot shooter, had a good stroke, I thought he would pretty quickly demonstrate the ability to shoot the ball. And if you look at Walker Kessler, Walker shot the ball a lot more from three than Janai. But Janai didn't feel either comfortable or ready, and I don't think he didn't think he had my permission, but he actually got a couple of them at Georgia, I think, too. That was where it maybe sort of started a little bit. And he's comfortable out there. And we've worked at it, and he's worked at it. And he's going to be a stretch five man. He's going to be a stretch five, which is going to make him really valuable for us and when he goes pro.
Yeah, Brian.
Bruce, Wynn mentioned there's sort of a budding rivalry with Arkansas now going back to last year. Do you like to have a little spice going into this game?
No, I mean, I'm not going to jump into that. If it's a rivalry, it's because we played them, and they've beaten us and lost some close games, and of course we lost number one ranking and almost got killed in a court storm. I almost got, but I'm already half crippled, so what's the next step? I might just start limping all the time.
Bruce, how important is it going to be to have all five guys play with a lot of effort on the boards because of their length and athletic?
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. We let's say they're 18, and so that puts them a 5 seed. So this is kind of like a 5 seed is somebody you get second round maybe. I mean, it's tough. So, I mean, they're big. They run on the boards. They're athletic, and so keeping them off the glass is going to be really important. They'll play. They can play volleyball in there with a little bit.
I'll take a couple follow-ups. Justin, Bruce, 6 turnovers for y'all in this last game. You said it the other day after this has been one of your best teams taking care of the ball. Why is that for this particular group? What do you think has kind of made the difference for them?
I think that they've been look, as Arkansas, turnovers in transition are two things that'll just kill you. So, but Arkansas will force some turnovers, and they'll force you to go faster, and they'll pressure the ball, and they'll deny things, and they're after turnovers, and they'll create turnovers. I mean, I think that we've just played this year at a little slower pace. We've not pressed as much in the league play, and so because we've not extended our full court pressure as much, the game's been more of a half court game, and as a result, we've been better in both half court offense and defense. In the non-conference, when we were, I think, sometimes physically superior to our opponent, deeper, we played faster, we played with greater tempo, we forced tempo, we turned people over more. But I made the decision once we started league play that was not going to be a formula that was going to allow us to keep winning.
But
On a somewhat happier note, what are some of your fonder memories from this season? What are some things you really stick out this year?
Well, I mean, obviously going to Israel was an unbelievable experience to be able to walk the Holy Land with my team and get them to have a chance to get closer to God. We just had an incredible experience. It at the same time makes for a really long year because those 3 weeks in August of training and travel would have been 3 weeks off. So for everybody. So made for a long, and all of a sudden we got back from Israel and school starts. I mean, it's made for a long year. I think that going to Cancun, we played Bradley, who wound up being the number 1 seed in the Missouri Valley, and lost the conference championship game. And then Northwestern, who was old and tough and physical, and but Northwestern, the name doesn't excite any of our guys about playing a Big Ten team. It's Northwestern. We told them they're good, really well coached. Chris done an amazing job getting them. They finished second in the Big Ten, and we held them to 42 points. Just incredible. The wins at home against Arkansas, Mississippi State, Missouri, Tennessee. We had some great wins against teams that are in the field. We're once again, in position to be in position.
Where do you expect that, Dylan?
Dylan practiced today, and he wasn't in there? He wasn't in there a lot, but he was in there enough to think he's possible.